It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com, and welcome to the Darius Acuff Appreciation Show, doing things that have never been done before in a Razorback uniform, doing things that have never been done or haven't been done in a long time in a lot of capacities. Of course, Arkansas losing 117-115 in double overtime in Tuscaloosa, the most points that Arkansas has scored in a loss. We'll talk about that, some of the things that Darius Acuff has accomplished. We'll bring in Connor Goodson to help us break down the game and talk about what's ahead as we eye March Madness. We'll bring in Kevin Bohannon to talk about Razorback baseball. We're going to discuss spring football, some of the things we learned from the press conference with head coach Ryan Silverfield and the coordinators, and we'll take your questions as well. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. The Crain Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain Commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle, get you back on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. Hog Sports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team. Woo!
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
Chris Brewer says, I present to you a man who should be SEC Freshman of the Year, SEC Player of the Year, and an All-American, Darius Acuff. 25.5 points per game in SEC play, 6.3 assists per game, 52% from three-point range. I still think about having a conversation with my buddy, last weekend about, well, he's not a sniper, Malik Thomas, he's a sniper, Acuff's more of an efficiency guy, take an open three when it's there, and he's just been killing it from three-point range. This was my favorite thing that came out of that game. This is from OPA Stats. Darius Acuff Jr. of Razorback men's basketball is the second Division I or NBA player in the last 30 seasons to have a game where he scored 45 or more points, grabbed 5+ rebounds, dished out 5+ assists, had only one turnover or none, and played the entire game. The other was Kobe Bryant on April 10th, 2013. That's probably my favorite wild stat from Darius Acuff, the greatness of Darius Acuff that we're seeing right now. I mean, we can talk about the best player ever at Arkansas. He's the best point guard, he's the best player since. He is the best freshman that Arkansas has ever had. He has positioned himself as the best freshman that Arkansas has ever had. The other guy that you would consider in that probably is Joe Johnson. He would be the other guy to consider. But Joe didn't even play until SEC play his freshman year. He was SEC Freshman of the Year because he played in all the SEC games. But Acuff's the best one, and he has more points than anybody ever. He just passed Scotty Thurman, just zoomed right past him. The most points in an SEC game by a Hog, and the second most all time. The most in an SEC game by a Razorback ever, and the second most all time. The first was Rodney Clark, 51 points against Alcorn State. I was at that game. The 49 points were also the most by a player ever coached by John Calipari. John Calipari, in all of his years of coaching, has never had a player do that. He tied Todd Day with the 16 made field goals in an SEC game, and tied Courtney Fortson with 27 attempts in an SEC game. This is according to Hog Stats here. Acuff is now the first 45-point, 5 rebound, 5 assist game in Razorback history. Also from Hog Stats. Yes, the most points in a loss in team history. it was unfortunate how some of the things played out in the second half with early foul trouble. You knew Arkansas was trying to stay out of foul trouble. And, Doug Shows, is that even how you say his name, or Doug Shows? It's like, every time he's reffing a game, my buddies will take, because HawgStats will put up all the refs and, their record calling Arkansas games. And all my buddies in different group threads are like, oh, my God, this guy again. Like, whenever there's a referee out there and everybody just kind of has the same opinion of the guy, Also from HawgStats, let's see. Okay, so also from HawgStats, Acuff's 50 minutes played last night were the most by a Razorback player in a game since at least 1987-88. The previous high in that span was 47 by B.J. Young versus Auburn in 2013. He also, as I mentioned, passed Scotty Thurman. Scotty had 540 points in 31 games as a freshman. Acuff has 579 now in 26 games. This is from Evan Miyakawa. Darius Acuff is only the second player to log 49 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in a Division I game in the last 15 seasons. The only other player to do it was Houston's Christian Darius Lee on March 5th, 2022, and that was in 4 overtimes. Incredible stuff by Darius Acuff. I mean, I could go on and on about all the stuff that he has done at Arkansas. The unfortunate, and especially last night, but the unfortunate outcome of this game is, you had Alabama in the bonus with over 12 minutes left in this game, in a game where Arkansas couldn't afford to foul. The end of the game plays out, and you've got 2 starters on the court for Arkansas. You have 4 players who have fouled out. You have 2 players who have not played a significant minute. One played, I think, 21 minutes at that point. One played 15 minutes. And you had, just 2 starters. That's tough. You have 4 players foul out of the game. Plus your bigs, you just don't get any. Like Malik Ewan, he's done some good things for Arkansas, but he did not play well at all. He had, in that last overtime, he had at least 3 really bad plays. I mean, he had a bad foul. He had a turnover. He had a missed dunk. He had a missed dunk earlier. And the missed dunk, that's a tough, put back dunk, but you got to have that for the game. And you throw it off the back of the iron. You basically had 2 of your good players out there. Really, I mean, when it all comes down to it, you had Trevin Brazile on the court and Darius Acuff, and I don't even know how to say. That's like how little Zavicic plays. Is I barely know how to say his name, and I remember watching him. He was off in the corner, on Arkansas's first possession. They weren't even guarding him because they know that he's not going to touch the ball. They weren't even looking at him. All right, we're going to go to Connor Goodson. Bring him in, discuss a little bit more about this game. Connor is our primary basketball beat guy, does a great job for us. Let's see, there we go. Boom, Connor's on. Connor joins us on the Ozarks Go hotline. If you're looking for fast, consistent, reliable internet, 479-684-4900, or go to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG, to find out if they're in your area. I've mentioned this several times. I've never had to unplug and replug my router because my internet quit working. I've never had an outage. We have a group thread. There's a lot of guys that don't have Ozarks Go in their area on our group thread with HawgSports. Connor is one of them that deals with constant internet issues. I was talking with Danny the other day. He doesn't have Ozarks Go in his area, constantly dealing with the internet, trying to change over his internet service. And I'm never one that's like, my internet's down, guys. It's never happened. Has it ever happened, Connor? Have you ever heard me bitch and moan about the internet?
I have not. Can't say I have.
Yep, because it works. Consistent, reliable internet service with Ozarks Go. So, Connor, you obviously following the game. I was at home and just I will say this. There was I broke a glass on accident.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there in the same spot, not moving. I even tweeted out, nobody move, and then things started taking a turn, and I got up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go in my office and watch the rest of the game. Like, they take the lead. And I've got a beverage in a pint glass, and I'm rushing, and I set it on the counter, and my wife's walking by, and I set it on the counter, and I kind of do it quick like that, and it goes, breaks on the ground. And I'm frustrated, and she knows I'm frustrated because I'm like, saying words. And the glass breaks, it just compounds everything. It makes me look like a jackass. I didn't mean to break a glass, but I was in a hurry to get, to my office because I had to turn TV on, get it,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was that kind of game. Very frustrating second half. I thought, especially with the way the game was called, and like I can complain about the officiating and stuff, and that's part of the game. But really, the reason Arkansas lost this game, they only had 7, of their main guys, but they didn't get jack from Pringle or Malik Ewing. They both had terrible games.
Yeah, and I wrote about this in the takeaways. Like, we're not one to like harp on officiating and say, well, that's the reason Arkansas never wins these games is the officiating. Right. They always have something out with Arkansas, which, I mean, Doug Schau's record, though, it's pretty hard to overlook against Arkansas.
It stands out every time.
6-31 in true SEC road games when he's the lead official since 1996.
Say that number again.
6-31 is Arkansas's record when he's the lead official on true road games.
Like that's something.
6 wins, 31 losses now in almost
like
30 years.
It's tough to win on the road. But, Arkansas has been pretty good as a program these last several years. And I always say, I'm not devastated that they lost to Alabama. Like, yeah, it sucks because it probably, they're going to have to win out to have a chance to win.
It would make watching this game back a lot more fun because this was a really, really fun game. And, and it would have been.
I went back and watched all the overtime periods immediately after the game ended. I went back and watched.
I watched back from halftime, and I'm still just struck at just how different the game flow was.
Oh yeah.
Second half compared to first half. The first half was just so. It was a beautiful game basketball. There wasn't a ton of defense being played, but the officials weren't inserting themselves. Teams were able to get into the flow a little bit, moving up and down the floor. There was long stretches where you could kind of feel guys out, and it had a natural flow to it. To where second half, in overtime periods, it was just a march to the free throw line. That first overtime period, I think the teams combined for like 20 free throw attempts or something crazy like that. It was just. Yeah. It's just ridiculous to have, night and day. And then when you have a team that's already down, 2 bodies and they're down to 7 guys, it makes it even more difficult to kind of figure out how you want to defend and how you want to, play it, because what goes in the first half doesn't go in the second half. And again, right. I'm not trying to blame the officiating, but it did.
It's almost like they huddle up. And we were talking about in one of my group threads, like, are we calling enough fouls, guys? Like, yeah, can we insert ourselves more into this game? But I mean, like you look at the numbers. I mean, like we got to talk about it. Like that's not the reason that Arkansas lost the game. Obviously, they got, again, terrible play down low from their bigs, but. You look at Alabama shooting, 27 of 34 from the free throw line, and Arkansas shooting Arkansas shot great from the free throw, 16 of 19, but Alabama made more free throws than Arkansas even attempted. And, there was that just coming out early, like just foul. And that Arkansas's mindset has to be like, we can't foul. One reason I think Alabama was scoring so many points was like, we cannot afford to foul and have people foul out. And what happens? Like, that's the mindset, can't afford to foul. 4 players foul out.
Yeah.
4 players foul out for you.
And the thing about it is Alabama was called for 17 fouls in 50 minutes of basketball. Coming into the game, they averaged 19.4 fouls a game, which ranked 319th in the country.
Yeah.
Out of 361 teams. Like this is a team
got way better at it suddenly.
Yeah, this team just routinely puts teams at the foul line. They're fouling. They're usually the team that's in foul trouble and having to go deep into their bench. And it's just weird when you kind of come into one game expecting one thing. I'm sure Arkansas staff was the same way, and you get another thing. But that's just one little footnote at this. You've touched on it. The Arkansas's got to get a pulse from their 5-man. That Ewan cannot go. You're brought in to be the offensive center. Yeah. You're brought in to be a guy who can go get you 6 to 8 points on the low end any night. And so when you go 0 of 4, it doesn't matter really what you do defensively. It doesn't matter what you do on the glass. You need to be able to score some points because that's what you're brought in to do. And then conversely, Nick Pringle, you can't play, however many minutes he played. I don't remember the official 23 minutes. You can't play 23 minutes and grab one rebound.
One board. Yeah. One rebound, 3 points, 5 fouls, 1 turnover. I mean, between them, you had Pringle with 23, you had Ewan with 20. Ewan was 0 of 4, 0 points. He did have 7 rebounds. It's definitely notable.
He did.
1 turnover, no assists, 3 fouls, 20 minutes of action. But like that last overtime, like he throws the ball away. He had a little cheap foul down low. There was maybe another play in there, but also, again, it's a tough dunk. Like it's a putback dunk, but you got to make it. Like you have to make that. It's a game deciding play right there.
And on the first overtime period, I mean, the 2 overtime periods ended about the same way. Acuff takes a shot, gets a pretty good look at it. I thought both times, both are shots we've seen him make. He misses it, but Arkansas's got guys there. Ewan's there for the putback, both overtime periods, and
he was there for the other one.
He rushes it, just can't get it to go in. And I mean, that second one though is one that
we have seen a lot better from. I mean, we've seen times where we've been frustrated with Ewan. We've seen times where it's like, okay, Ewan's really playing well right now. They've got to get that back. I'll tell you another thing we didn't even mention with Acuff. He had a boot on for 2 days. I was looking through pictures, to put the thumbnail on this, and I'm looking back at what was the game they played before? Auburn. Looking back at the Auburn game, and you can see him holding his ankle in one of the photos, grimacing, from when he rolled his ankle. But he's wearing a boot for 2 days and then goes out and does stuff that nobody in the country has done this year. And maybe in many years, I guess in many years. I mean, nobody has put up the numbers that he put up. I mean, when I read you the Kobe Bryant stat a minute ago, Acuff is the best freshman that Arkansas has ever had already. He's the best freshman that Arkansas has ever had.
Hands down. And he's continually making a case as one of the best players in Arkansas history, period. And one of the best single seasons in Arkansas history for sure. His stat line last night was something out of a 2K video game. With just 16 of 27. Like sometimes you see these stat lines where guys go for 40 points, they go for 30 points, but they're doing it on like 30 or 40 shots as well. He did it on 27 shots, 16 of 27 from the floor, 6 of 10 from 3. I mean, just the efficiency. He also grabbed you 5 rebounds. He grabbed you more rebounds than your starting center. And he dished out 5 assists to only 1 turnover. I mean,
with everybody, and also then did it when everybody knew, like, because there was nobody else left on the team that was capable of scoring, and everybody knows that he's doing it, that it's going to him, that he's going to try to make the play. But yeah, he was incredibly efficient. As you mentioned, 16 of 27 from the floor, 6 of 10 from downtown, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. I mean,
he did it closing out with Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn on the floor next to him. I mean, and I'm not talking about Joffrey.
That's not fair.
I'm not talking about the walk-ons either. I'm talking about Ewan and Pringle. No, but
that's hard.
No, yeah, that is. That's a cheap shot. No, but it's hard. I texted in our group message, like in midway through the second half, I was just like, I don't know how to contextualize this. I've never seen like what he's doing. And even Malik Thomas, I think he gets overshadowed a little bit. He was on fire that coming out of the locker room. He was like a man possessed. He went on that little 6-0 run on his own to really put Arkansas ahead by like, I think 14 at the time. And he gets a little overshadowed in this game, but those two dudes just being as young as they are.
Yeah. What happened? So he hit that 3. Cal called timeout. He hits that 3. They come out, they go to him. He takes it to the rack and he gets fouled. He doesn't score. Does he knock down both free throws then at that point?
I believe he knocked down both, but I could be wrong there.
And then they come down. And then is that when Acuff went down and hit that 3? Or I can't really remember how that all played out.
Exactly. Yeah, he hit both. So it was 93 to 90. Malik Thomas hits the 3. Cal calls the timeout, which would have tied it at 93. They come out. They give the ball to him. He gets a little gets going downhill, draws some contact, almost gets an and one, but he hits both free throws. Holloway gets fouled at the other end with 18 seconds left, and then they draw it up for Acuff to get that three at the end.
There were a lot of scouts there too that saw what he did in person.
One thing that has bugged me this whole really since conference play is that these wannabe draft insider analyst people, NBA draft, they will find any little advanced stat that they can and any stat that really helps their case to prove why Darius Acuff is not going to translate at the next level and why people shouldn't be paying attention to him and caring what he's doing. And I just that just irks me the wrong way. So it was really satisfying to watch Darius Acuff get some of the flowers thrown his way that he did from national pundits last night, because what he's doing is special and he deserves a ton of credit.
Mm-hmm. So Alabama, they've got at LSU. They're going to win that one.
Yeah.
They've got Mississippi State at home. They're going to win that. They got to go at Tennessee and at Georgia. Georgia's slid a little. And then they finish things out against Auburn at home. So there's some challenges ahead, but it's not unfavorable for them.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, which is alone in first place. Arkansas and Alabama are tied, and Tennessee are all tied for second place. Florida has at Ole Miss. That's a win. At Texas, you got to pull for Texas here. If you're an Arkansas fan, you're going to have to pull for Texas. Obviously, Arkansas has to win in Gainesville. They've got to go to Florida and win that game. They're going to beat Mississippi State, and then they're at Kentucky that last game. So you got to pull for Texas, and you got to pull for Kentucky. Arkansas.
Yeah, and you got to hope that Arkansas can take care of business. And
Arkansas has no choice but to beat Missouri, beat Texas A&M, win in Gainesville, beat Texas at home, and then win at Missouri. They have no choice but to go 5-0. Really.
You control your own destiny here. You lose any of these games, you're probably more than likely out of it. You'd need a ton of help at that point. The one thing that concerns me is it was a Wednesday night game. Cal's talking about Darius Acuff being in a boot. He plays 50 more minutes. I don't know what that looks like for Carter Knox and Isaiah Sealy getting back in time for Missouri. Doesn't sound good on Carter getting back in time. I don't know about Isaiah Sealy. We'll see, I guess, tomorrow when they release the report or if we hear anything before then. But when you look at Acuff also being in that boot last week, does he have any lingering effects? Did he leave it out all out on the floor, and then maybe he's not going to have anything left for Missouri? Could you see him on the injury report? That's the only thing that concerns me going into the Missouri game, because you do have such a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it is a quick turnaround. Finishing out, Tennessee could backdoor their way in too. I mean, they've got at Vanderbilt, which will be tough, obviously. They're at Missouri. They host Alabama. They're at South Carolina, and they're against Vanderbilt again. So they got 1, 2, 3 very tough games, one pretty tough one. So they would have to do some pretty impressive stuff to finish out number one. So SEC standings right now are Florida at 11-2, Alabama at 9-4, Arkansas at 9-4, Tennessee at 9-4, and then you've got several teams at 8-5 after that.
Yeah, it's a tough road for Arkansas, no doubt. But this team, like last night, they showed a ton of fight through 2 overtimes. They showed that they can compete with anyone, no matter if you got 2 guys out, if you only got 7 guys, even if you got walk-ons on the floor, this team's going to be able to fight. So should be interesting to see how they respond on Saturday with the quick turnaround. And definitely got to win out this next stretch. All
right, Connor. Appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, Trey.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. You can follow him at Connor Goodson on X and read all of his content at HawgSports. Our main basketball guy does a little bit of everything for us. Appreciate you, Connor. All right, everybody. Walker Brothers, fine menswear in Northwest Arkansas, bringing you the finest men's clothing from around the world, carefully selected to last, fit right, and help you look your best. From game day essentials to distinguished luxury wear. Get it all at Walker Brothers. It's nice to have people taking care of you. If you're a man, not everybody admits that they need taken care of, but you might need a little bit of help with your wardrobe. So check them out at Walker Brothers. You can visit them at 577 Millsap Road, suite number 6 in Fayetteville. where they've been for a number of years, or go to their brand new location, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers. They've got all the brands you want, for everything from Peter Millar to Viore to what is that, Rye 51. They got some good stuff. I got a couple of things from that brand, but all the great brands, cologne, shoes, everything. You get fitted for a suit, they got you taken care of over at Walker Brothers. Good people, good Razorback fans also. All right, we're going to bring in Kevin Bohannon now. Kevin joins us also on the Ozarks Go hotline. Again, 479-684-4900, ozarksgo.net/hog. Kevin, what did you think of that basketball game last night?
It took a lot out of me. I struggled this morning. Man, it took me back to, and I sent this message to y'all, it took me back to the early 90s. Nolan was scoring 108 points a game, it seemed like. Back in the day, they used to score in the 90s a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They used to score in the hundreds. The UNLV game in 90 at Barnhill, it was like 112 to 105. That's the type of atmosphere, type of game. It was just back and forth. And what Acuff did, and what amazed me, there's only been one other player in NBA or NCAA Division I basketball that's had 45-plus points, 5+ assists, 5+ rebounds, and only one turnover. It's Acuff and Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier in the show. Yeah. That's the most amazing stat out of all the ones that I've seen, to be mentioned with Kobe Bryant, who did it in the NBA. So wanted to obviously transition over to baseball. Arkansas coming out of their time in Arlington, 3-1. What did you learn about this baseball team?
Deep pitching staff loaded with vets and younger guys that can get the job done. The number 2 recruiting class of 2023 is finally showing what they can do on a national level, and it's showing the depth of that class. And it's not just on the mound. Most of it is on the mound when you got Gackle, Dietz, Fisher, McGuire. All those came out of the same class. Then you got Ryder Helfrich. Nolan Souza's going to get it turned around. So for that group right there, even though they lost, I think if we go back, they lost like 6 guys to the draft. They were still the number 2 rated recruiting class in the nation that year. They had more top 100 players than any other program in the nation in the history of recruiting baseball at that point. It's been passed up since then, but they're really starting to show their potential as a team and as those individual players. So pitching staff holds teams, 4 teams to $157 batting average. They walked more players than they allowed hits. They're going to cut down on their walks. Wasn't too bad. And Cooper Dawson had a bad inning. Hunter Dietz had a bad couple innings. Other than that, it was pretty flawless all weekend. Tate McGuire and Ethan McIlvain really surprised me, even though I didn't get to see McIlvain pitch. I did get to see McGuire. He's a different type of cat. He goes out there, he competes. He's a bulldog and just kind of like, all right, give me the ball, coach. I'll go pitch. Love to see that type of attitude from Tate McGuire, knowing that he hasn't been very productive his first 2 years on campus, and he got the chance to step up in the spotlight, and he did a really good job against a very good TCU lineup.
What about Aloy and his hamstring? What's his status, and who would go there if he can't go?
He missed. He hit his home run against TCU, kind of limped around the bases, and Coach Van Horn pulled him out. And then he missed the next 2 games. So, Coach Van Horn said after the TCU game, look, we wanted to get him out so we wouldn't miss him for a month. We wanted to make sure, out of precaution, kind of get him, rehab, get it worked out a little bit. Logan Maxwell ran into hamstring issues a ton during the first part of the season last year when it was still cold. He really wasn't stretched out. The one thing I noticed about Aloy, and this is not a knock against the strength and conditioning program at all, because they've done a really good job of putting good weight, good muscle on the baseball team and on the pitching staff, player, offensive guys, doesn't matter. But he looks bulky and stiff to me. I mean, he is really jacked up. So maybe it's, something that comes off of him lifting and everything like that, get stiff, you pop a hammy, and it just takes a while to get it used. Now that he's an everyday outfielder, he has to have that thing in better shape than he is as a designated hitter. So we'll see if he comes out this weekend. It's just kind of a game-by-game basis. It looks like he'll get a start on Friday, but if not, look for Christian Turner, the freshman that got a lot of at-bats last weekend. Struck out some, got a hit. He's just really kind of finding his way into college baseball pitching at this point. Freshmen have to adapt, and it's really hard going from that high school level. No matter if you played at the highest levels in showcase baseball, college pitching is still different in NCAA pitching. So we'll see about that. Zach Stewart may be another option out there, but they do have options. And Coach Van Horn made that abundantly clear. If some of the guys don't get going, it's going to be next man up.
Now, what's been the approach with hitting this week? And I mean, how can they get back on track there?
The biggest thing is going back to fundamentals, see ball, hit ball. The game is hard enough as it is. You don't need to make it extra difficult. It's hard enough to hit a 93, 94 mile per hour fastball. Don't try to overcomplicate things by doing too much. That's been the biggest thing this week that the coaching staff has been preaching. Look, get back to fundamentals, learn what produces runs, be that guy in the box that has a brain and can be cerebral about hit behind runners. There should be no situation to where a leadoff double gets on second base and he doesn't move from that spot. So last week was about seeing what the guys can do. Now it's about finding the right lineup. We know Damian Ruiz had an outstanding weekend, went 6 for 10. He had a 13 consecutive at-bat streak, which is the longest in the Dave Van Horn era. Hat tip to Corey Stewart on that. He does a lot of Razorback sports stats for all three major sports. So now you get to really find the right mixture of guys that can go out there and they can really start producing at a high level now that the first weekend is out of the way. That's the big thing going into this weekend is, okay, let's find the right lineup, make sure everybody's healthy, and really start producing and knowing what they can do as an offensive and find their identity.
You looked into Xavier much? What are you saying from them?
Yeah, they got a ton of righties. I mean, there was a couple of years ago they played Mississippi State or Texas A&M. It was Texas A&M at Texas A&M because Gage Wood made the start. It looked like they had 17 lefties, Trey. They just kept rolling them out there one after one. And I'm like, good night. Jim Sloss, they're just rolling lefties out left and right. And I'm like, how do you get that many lefties on the team? So Xavier's the opposite. Look, they're from the Big East. Big East has always been a basketball conference to me, not much of a baseball conference, but Creighton came out of the Big East last year. They made the trek to Fayetteville for the Fayetteville Regional and got to be runner-up to the Arkansas Razorbacks. So Xavier was picked number 4 in the league this year. They are only playing one game at home in the first month of the season. So they are going to be road warriors. Last week, they started out against ranked East Carolina. They took 2 out of 3. Then they had a midweek game against Louisville. Got to throw a few into the bench guys and gave up 23 runs, but they did score 11. So they lost 23-11. They're 2-2. Last year, 14-7 in the Big East, 32-27 overall. So they're going to be right on that cusp of if they can win a conference tournament, they can be a regional team. But they scheduled tough. So when they get to the Big East, it's not going to be much of a deal. Ryan Pick, Jack Nobe, that's going to be their Friday and Saturday guys. Pick is 6'3". They got, seems like all their pitchers are 6'3". We talk about during football season, look in the media guide, the most common height is what? 6 foot. Looks like all these guys are 6'3". They got a lot of righties, throw a lot of strikes. They're around the strike zone. So it's going to be a little bit different from going right, left, like a lot of these Power 4 conferences do. And especially last weekend, TCU and Oklahoma State, they mixed it up really well going right, left. So those lefties will get used to it this weekend, hitting off a lot of righties.
Everybody's listed at 6 foot because everybody rounds up to 6 foot. No matter if you're 5'10", 5'11".
6'3" used to be the quarterback number. If you were 6'3" or above, you were good to go. I just never got there.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you hopping on with us. Anything else to add before we cut you loose?
No, just Hunter Dietz has got to work on command of a second pitch. If he does that this weekend, he's going to be golden. Same 3 starters for the weekend rotation. That's one thing I wanted to add. You got Gackle on Friday, Dietz on Saturday, and Big Tuna on Sunday. So it should be a little cool this weekend, but good enough weather out there. Get out there to Baum Walker. Be a good weekend of baseball. Yeah,
first time to be able to watch them at home and in an actual
They're all going to be
game.
Streaming. Yep, SEC Network.
SEC, yeah, for those who had flow problems.
Or no problems on Monday, yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll be able to watch. First pitch on Friday is 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock on Saturday, and noon on Sunday. Appreciate you, Cabo.
You bet. Thanks, Trey.
All right, everybody, follow him at Cabo Baseball Guru on X and read his content at HawgSports, HAWG Sports.com. Okay. Lost my spot. Looking at the schedule. Hey, I'd like to take this moment to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, Arkansas's official jeweler and the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks, I should say. Thrilled to support the team, be part of the Razorback tradition, especially during big game moments. This is where Arkansas gets engaged. Since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. From fine diamonds to crafted custom pieces, our family-owned store delivers exceptional quality and craftsmanship for every occasion. Good people over at Blakeman's. I said that several times with all of our sponsors. We're very lucky to have good people, good companies, people who support the Razorbacks. You can visit Blakeman's at their brand new location at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers, Arkansas, 72758. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, where Arkansas gets engaged. Okay. So football news, putting football on the back burner a little bit, but it's coming. Spring football is on the horizon. Arkansas is hiring Mitch Stewart as the quarterback's coach. He was slated to be at South Alabama. He was at Memphis with Ryan Silverfield. So when Clint Trickett, which it's hard to blame Clint Trickett for taking a job that's going to pay him probably over $1 million, versus $300,000. I mean, what was he making at Jacksonville or wherever he was at before that? So he's definitely taken a nice rise. It's good to see, even though we really didn't get to know the guy. You just move on. It's kind of how things are. You kind of have to roll with the punches. So Mitch Stewart will be coaching quarterbacks at Arkansas. Obviously, Tim Cramsey's going to have a big role in that too. That's in his background as well. So yeah, let's look at this schedule real quick. So I don't know if I mentioned the other day, but I got an early, let's see, what day was that press conference? I don't think I mentioned it on our message board, but how the spring schedule is going to play out. We know that the first practice is Sunday. For some reason, it's starting at 4:20, I guess, to keep that continuity. But basically, every day, aside from Saturdays, is going to be at 4:20 start. So you've got Sunday the 15th. They'll go Tuesday the 17th and Thursday the 19th of all of March. And then they will break. Spring break starts that week. So after that Thursday, they'll cut them loose for spring break. They will come back on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule that we're all familiar with. Sam Pittman did the same type of schedule. So they go Tuesday, and this is, again, Tuesday, 4:20, Thursday at 4:20, Saturday at who knows what time. But they'll do that all the way through the 25th. So practice dates are when they come back, the 31st, and then April 2nd, 4th, 7th, 9th, 14th, 14th, 16th, 18th, 21st, 23rd, and wrap it up with the 15th practice and the red-white game on the 25th. No official time yet on that red-white game. So that's the schedule coming up for Razorback football. This was only the second time that we've got a chance to talk to Ryan Silverfield in a media setting anyway. He has done, in a press conference setting, he has done media availabilities and stuff with people individually. Here's a quick 1-minute clip. What do you have to say?
It's been great. The last 2+ months have been a whirlwind, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of hard work by so many. I want to give credit to the staff and the administration, everybody that's put in a lot of man hours to continue to get to this thing to where it is today. A lot more work to be done. The people of Northwest Arkansas have been amazing. The fans throughout the state have been supportive. It's been a lot of fun, but we know every single day there's work to be done. The players have been great. It's been a lot of fun to be able to spend some time with them and continue to work. And excited as we continue to get closer and closer to spring ball to see what kind of football program and team we're building every single day. But it's been exciting, and we know exciting days ahead. I mean, everybody always says, now there's time off, time to relax. There's no such thing, not in college football, right? Maybe July 1st through the 5th, you may catch your breath, but it's you go into the dead period, it's been go, 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 right? Literally, like you talked about with all the things we done, and now you're like, okay, wait a second, now we get to be around our current team, our current program.
I find that jack position intriguing. I think that's a very interesting spot because they have to be very versatile on defense. And I've talked a lot about, the tight front that Ron Roberts innovated and a lot of other teams are using. And, but you have to be versatile. Tim Cramsey the other day in an interview said that, they'll come out, they want to have players that are versatile on offense. So they'll come out in a 10 personnel look, which, is one running back, no tight ends. And they will shift after like 15 seconds after that, that headset shuts off for the defense. The defensive coordinator makes the call and that headset shuts off and they'll shift into like 12 personnel. So that means you got to have like a running back or a wide receiver that can, come in and play tight end, in two spots. So that's, two tight end look. So, but they'll shift things around and then put it on the defense to make a call. So the defense in turn has to be versatile. That jack position, the nickel position, I think of those two spots as very versatile. We think of a jack. I think a lot of people think of a guy, close to the line of scrimmage in a 2-point stance coming after the quarterback. And yes, that's probably the main thing that you have to be able to do, but it really helps if you can drop into coverage, especially with some of the things that they do, like with replacement stuff, to be able to drop that guy back into coverage. You have to be able to set the edge. You got to be stout enough to set that edge because they're going to try to flush stuff to the outside. When they're in that tight front, they're going to try to flush those backs out to the outside. You got to be able to set the edge. It's a challenging position. The guys over there, when we talk about Charlie Collins a lot because like he was the number 65 ranked prospect in the country. He hasn't been that since he's been at Arkansas. But I reference Razorback and NYC a lot of times, pointing out that according to like the analytics and stuff that he puts together, that a defensive lineman doesn't really on average make an impact on average until 2.57 years on campus. Okay. So Collins, if you think about it, he started 3 games last year. Quincy Rhodes at the same age, not last year, but the year before, Quincy's a year older. Quincy did not start a game at Arkansas until the Liberty Bowl. So it's kind of like similar if you think about it like that. Collins is coming into his 3rd year. This should be the time where he, makes a big impact. The jack position, I feel like, is really custom built for him. Or he's custom built for the jack, I should say. At 6'5", 255, he's always a guy that's kind of a little bit of a tweener. He's not a linebacker, but he's not super heavy for a defensive end at 255, and that might be a little bit generous. But the jack usually is going to be a guy that's about, 255, maybe 260, as small as 235, I guess, depending on what you're prioritizing, which Steven Souls, who will play jack. Steven Souls had 3.5 sacks, tied for the lead at Kentucky last year in sacks, a couple of forced fumbles. He's played a pretty notable role for them. Collins should fit into that role really well. I'm really looking at Jamonte Waller. Waller goes about 6 foot, 243 or so, 243. But he was a very highly regarded guy also, number 95 ranked prospect in the country. So those are the 3 guys I think you really look at. Trent Sellers is just a redshirt freshman at 6'4", 260, and Donovan Whitten, former walk-on, who's on a partial scholarship, 6'3", 256. I think I just think that's a really intriguing position, and kind of determines some other things. Like on the other side of the ball, you're going to have Quincy Rhodes, who had 8 sacks last year. And on the defensive line, you look at it and I see like. They've got David Oakey coming in. They brought in Zadavian Sims, who will be going into his 3rd year. Trajan Odom, who will be going into his 2nd year. Carlin Jones, who's going into his 3rd year. All guys that were 4-star recruits. Hunter Osborne, who's going into his 4th year and played a good role for Virginia last year, started his career off at Alabama. They've got some guys. Plus, you have Reginald Vaughn coming back, Caleb Bell. I think they're in a better position on the defensive line this year based on a lot of the potential, guys that were, top 100 or 4-star type recruits, on the defensive line and at that jack position versus, they were just thin last year. They relied on too many young people. I brought up that Tennessee game. I'm down there field level watching, Arkansas scores. There's 5:08 left. Arkansas's got to get the ball back. And I look out there and that defensive line is just wiped out. They've got a true freshman out there. They can't stop them. Tennessee just runs the ball and takes the clock down, never gives Arkansas the ball back. Happened against Memphis, obviously, after that turnover. They just couldn't get the ball back. So I do think that they're in a better spot on the defensive line, and that's where it all starts. And then, on the other side, I think there's some things to figure out on the offensive line, and they've got bodies to figure it out with. Bryant Williams, Bringing in Terrence Robertson, having Caden Kittler and Kobe Branham come back, bringing Malachi Breland in from Memphis, who started the last couple of years there. Kavian Broussard is a year older. Davion Weatherspoon, he's an intriguing guy. He's 6 foot. Is that going to be a hindrance to him? He was all MAC guy, So anyway, I'm intrigued with the offensive and defensive line in addition to the quarterback battle. This whole thing could be not a waste of time, but if you don't have a quarterback, then you're not going to have a good team. And so I've said before, I think they did a good job overall. Are there some areas that you like to see? I think they missed on a few guys at safety. They did what they could. They missed on some guys. I think they did a pretty good job at cornerback, linebacker, defensive line, offensive line. I think they've got a lot of potential at wide receiver, possibly at running back too. We'll see. We'll know pretty quick on running back. It's just quarterback. Like, do you have the right guy? And, again, you can go through all spring, all fall camp with a quarterback competition and come out the other end of it going, this is our guy, and be wrong. So not only is it a difficult position to evaluate, but you could name the wrong player. And I know I've said that before, but you look across the country every single year, and Trinidad Chambliss is the example last year of a guy that did not win the starting job coming out, was viewed as a gadget quarterback, and ends up being, a guy that Ole Miss desperately wants to be able to play next year, and right now is going to be able to. So we've got a lot of stuff broken down. There's some free articles on HawgSports. But a lot of the stuff that we do out of press conferences and stuff will be free. But 10 things that we learned from Tim Cramsey, 10 things we learned from Ryan Silverfield, Ron Roberts, so on and so forth. You can read all that stuff over at HawgSports. But not long before we'll have a complete overlap of football, basketball, and baseball with the spring starting up. Don't know what kind of availability we're going to have just yet, but it'll be something. BetSaracen is Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. If you haven't signed up at BetSaracen, then you can do so. And if you put $25 down on your first bet and use the promo code BIDDY250, that's capital B, lowercase IDDY 250, and click this link below. Or I don't even know if you have to click the link below, but the link is down there. I'm pretty sure as long as you use the promo code, you'll be okay. But you will get $250 back in bonuses to use on BetSaracen. Pretty sweet deal. Pretty sweet deal, I think. Biddy $250. First-time users, make your first bet, $25 or more, get $250 back in bonuses. #1 sports betting app in Arkansas.
Arkansas's Fab Five for BetSaracen.
Hey, Joe, what do you think was the best shot in Arkansas basketball history?
Was it U.S.'s half-court shot versus the national champions in the big dance? Or maybe it was Scotty's shot in '94 to win it all.
That's a jump ball for me. I'm not even going there.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too.
Bet where most Arkansans bet.
Bet where we bet.
BetSaracen.
Some of you guys may know also Jody Hendricks. He does real estate in Northwest Arkansas, done for a number of years. But anyway, he's opened that Back Nine Golf that I'm talking about. It is fully open now. I've been there like probably 14 or 15 times, but it is fully open. They've got several different monthly membership deals. The one that's I think is really good is the Eagle. Like if you can find somebody to partner up with you, you can actually split that. It's $325 total. You split that, you get 24/7 access. You go in that place at 2:00 in the morning. Up to 4 guests per visit. You can have 2 active bookings. They'll do tournaments and stuff like that. There's tournament discounts and stuff. But man, if you like golf, this place has been missing in Fayetteville, Arkansas for a long time. And I think it's important to support things like that. And, I love going there. I love mashing golf balls. I love going there for practice. You can play all these different courses. We played, they had the Pro-Am. We played Pebble Beach the other day. But memberships are filling up. They're not going to just take an unlimited number of memberships. There's a cap. Okay. So if you don't sign up, you could miss out. So be sure to go check them out. You can book a free demo, but it's right there on College. It's easy to access. There's that CrossFit right there. And there's that smoothie place. There's a car wash across the street, but it's right there on Ash and College, Back Nine Golf. But hit them up, go to the website, the Back Nine Golf, and you click on Fayetteville and go get signed up. But their memberships, I'll just tell you, memberships are filling up, and they're only going to take so many. So because they want people, who do sign up to easily have access and stuff. But it's pretty cool. You just go on your phone, on your app, Back Nine Golf app, and say, okay, I need this tee time right here. And you book it. And then when you go up to the place, say you book it 5 a.m., say you book it noon on a Friday, whatever, your phone, you just open the app and you open the door with your phone. Go in there, got the place. You might have the place to yourself. They got 4 different hitting bays in there. They got massage chairs. I mean, it's fun. It's nice. We've had a good time. Me and my buddies. You might see me up there. Okay, let's go to your questions now. Link is below also on YouTube. To that. Link to all of our sponsors is below. I lost my question. Oh, there they are. Okay. I just glanced at it a minute ago. We didn't have a whole lot of questions, but we have gone over 50 minutes here. So, Packing a Hog 54 says, is the football staff going overboard on Arkansas high school recruiting? That's a good question because Silverfield mentioned that. I think with moving to 90 scholarships, it's going to be hard to go overboard. I'm not in agreement that you should just have a set number of guys you take inside the state every year because it fluctuates so much because Arkansas is a smaller state. In Texas, you might have 400 Division I signees one year and 375 or 350 the next year, and it doesn't seem like that big. In Arkansas, you might have a year where there's only, 12 or 10 Division I caliber players or 7. I've seen it low before. You might have a year where there's 20-something. It seems like it fluctuates more because the state is smaller. So I would never put a number on the number of players that you need to bring inside the state of Arkansas. But I do think with going to aiming it more at 90 scholarships, that it makes more sense to look inside your state a little bit harder and bring in some guys. So no, I don't know that it's overboard. You're going to miss on recruits, period. There's been plenty of guys that Arkansas has turned their nose up to that, came in and walked on at Arkansas or guys that weren't super highly recruited. The Morgan brothers, neither of those guys were super highly recruited, and ended up being really good players for them. Hey, Trey, this is from Thorhog. What have you heard if they're going to hire a D-line coach? I'm thinking that they might not actually hire a D-line coach, at least not immediately. Maybe they revisit that later, but I don't think that that's something that they're rushing to do right now. Coach Ryan Silverfield was on another show. He mentioned something about being able to spend $1 million on 22 players, and he was talking about the strategy they had going into the portal. $1 million on 22 players. I mean, each 22 players that are getting $1 million. I don't know. I guess I need more to reference on that. Okay. Not a lot of questions. We got a lot of comments, but just not a lot of questions today. And I think that was because it was such a good show. It was so informative. Everybody just is fulfilled. You feel good. You're full. You're full of Razorback information, if that's ever possible, if you can get totally full. Disappointing the way the game ended. Obviously, it could have gone down as an all-time great for Arkansas, but that's, kind of the story of being a Razorback, I guess, in a lot of cases. But an incredible performance by Darius Acuff. Still think this team has a chance to do a lot of big things. And as I've always said, go down, battle a team, give yourself a chance on the road to win the game. And if you do that on the road in the SEC, you can win half your road games, take care of business at home. You're right there in the mix to compete for the title. It's going to be a tough road, though, with Arkansas. Florida's in a good spot right now with the schedule that they have left, but Arkansas has to win out, and they can if they can get healthy. They don't need Darius Acuff in a walking boot. They need him to get fully healthy. There's one person on here that speculates Cardenas could be out for an extended time. He didn't even travel, on the last trip. Obviously it's disheartening seeing him go in and get 6 minutes the other day and, look like he tweaked it again, But yeah, they got to get healthier. I don't even know what Seeley's injury is. But don't like when I hear about an injury in practice. All right, everybody. Todd Willis says, would I be dissatisfied with an Elite Eight appearance? Absolutely not. I would not be dissatisfied. I would, if you make it to the second weekend, like, to me, that's like, it's anybody's game, An Elite Eight is pretty exceptional to me. A Sweet 16 is nice, obviously, but an Elite Eight to me is like, okay, that's big time. You made it to the second weekend. Everybody saw you win a game. You got a big Elite Eight game. Obviously, the Final Four is, the national championship is the goal, right? I don't know that this team has what it takes down low. They have to get really good play to. My voice is starting to go, so I'm going to wrap it up. But no, Elite Eight, I don't think I would be disappointed by that. Okay, we got another one. Yes, Carter Knox has a knee. Landon Martin 2099 says, Trey, something seems different about Silverfield. He talks a lot about building the team, bond. It's really unique. Guess we won't know until all the games are played. Your coverage, this is from Jason Klein, says, your coverage is the best. Thanks for everything you bring to the fans. I appreciate that. We certainly try. Certainly the goal. All right, everybody. For Silverfield, building the bond, like, to me, the biggest thing for Arkansas is figuring out quarterback. And you may not even have a guy. You may be in a terrible situation at quarterback. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully one of these guys is a stud, but you just don't know. The good teams have good quarterbacks. So I think they've done most of the things they need to do personnel-wise, building the roster. I'm not just like in love with the secondary, love with safety, but, it is what it is. Well, there it is. I said that. It is what it is. So, but, how long does it take to instill your culture, instill that bond, your scheme? What's the buy-in like? All that stuff. From here on out, it's about coaching. It's about strength and conditioning, those types of things. And it's about the buy-in for the players. So it's not an easy schedule. Never is. All right, everybody. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Thank you, Darius Acuff, for being awesome, and appreciate Connor Goodson and Kevin Bohannon for being awesome too, and all of you. Appreciate your comments and for tuning into the show, making it popular. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.